Hello, my name is Abigail and welcome back to Polyglot Progress. Today is August 18th, 2020, and this is going to be my 3-month update for my summer goals video. I have filmed the beginning part of this video twice now, once in which I just started it and then all of a sudden realized that this should be the last installment, and then once again as the last installment, and then I stopped because I decided actually this would not be the last one. I was very conflicted, but I think what's gonna happen is this is the 3-month and then the 4-month update is the end of summer. This one's definitely going to be a quicker update video. I don't have a ton to update on, which sounds bad at first, but it's that I literally don't have a ton to update on in terms of good things or bad things. Really, I just feel like a month definitely has not gone by since the last time I filmed an update video. A big update outside of language learning, but that definitely affects language learning in my life this past month, was that I got a job again. So I think that a lot of my time was dedicated to like applying and interviewing for jobs and then getting kind of settled in with that. So I think it's just been kind of a little hectic there, and I really have not felt like a whole month has happened at all. I looked and saw that this was the video I was supposed to be recording this week, and totally feels like it should not be what I'm recording right now. So my first goal was to stick with my language learning plans, which was to have the focus language that I was kind of using a textbook to refresh after my hiatus, being in May, German, June, Spanish, July, Italian, and then August, Bulgarian, and then any language that I studied previous months would then the next month, as I replaced the focus, move into being something that I studied through like immersion and kind of working more on maintenance and improving it. And I'd said in the last video that I was considering kind of changing this and making it so that I was doing Italian in July, sort of at the end, and August, and then pushing Bulgarian until the fall, but I wasn't totally sure yet. I wanted to see what kind of happened, and I would say that's definitely more the direction we're moving in right now. I don't know for a fact that I'll feel confident moving on from Italian as the focus language come September, but my goal right now is to kind of wrap up with that as the focus project by the end of August and kind of stick more to this part 2 kind of version of the plans, and still have Bulgarian be something that I start in September, and probably I'll focus exclusively on that for the rest of the year and kind of work on improving and maintaining through immersion all of the other languages. But at this point with a job, I am just coming to terms with the fact that I have work, and that means that I have a new life to work around. Whereas in the summer I was not going to school and I was not employed, I had time to focus on having really scheduled and concrete language plans. I really could have it be a thing where one language was a focus and was the thing that I studied, and still work on immersion and improving and maintaining other languages within the same day, and really kind of cover all of the things. But now my schedule's changed and I don't have complete control over how I organize my days. I can no longer spend the whole day working on language stuff and working on my own projects. Obviously language wasn't the only thing I was doing prior to this, which is why I wasn't just like cranking out language updates. I did have other projects I was working on, but now I have to move those projects and my language stuff alongside working and having to be at shifts where I cannot in any way kind of include language into that. So I think really the important thing right now for me is finding a way to incorporate language learning into my new schedule. And so I don't know if that necessarily means it is a schedule that has the like focus and then all the improving and maintenance languages the exact same way I had it before. I think that general concept is going to carry over, but I don't necessarily think that my language learning is going to stay the same as it was throughout this summer, because I have a little bit more going on and I need to obviously adapt and adjust to this new lifestyle and this new kind of schedule within my day. So at this point, is my goal to stick to my language plans? Not necessarily. In general theory, yes. I would like to be moving on from having Italian as the focus to moving on to working on focusing on refreshing and really improving my Bulgarian through study. I don't think my Bulgarian is ready to be improved just through immersion at all, so definitely there is going to be actual study involved in that process. But as a whole, I think the plans and hopes that I had for this summer are not going to necessarily be the plans and hopes that work well for my current schedule. So it's not necessarily a goal I have to make it work in this new schedule. I need to find something that works, but it doesn't have to be what I'm doing right now. It doesn't have to be forced into this kind of mold to work for me all the time. In terms of textbook updates, I have finished now German Tutor and Spanish Tutor, which were both books that I wanted to finish. I'm more than halfway done with Italian Tutor. I'm currently midway through chapter 14 and there's 22 chapters in the book, so I'm not super far out. Definitely there's a lot of Italian grammar that I'm not super familiar with. The same thing happened with Spanish, but I think Spanish grammar I've been exposed to a little bit more than Italian grammar when it comes to more advanced concepts. I don't feel like it takes me a super long time to grasp Italian grammar. I feel like Italian grammar is very similar to French grammar for me, but I just haven't been exposed to a lot of stuff in Italian, so I am kind of working through this textbook at this point in a way that is more like learning fresh and new material as opposed to refreshing material. Obviously there's still some stuff and a lot of vocabulary that is brought up that I do already know, and so it is just a refresher. But I think I'm also being exposed to a lot of new stuff right now, which I'm really happy about, but it does mean that I'm moving a little bit slower at this point in the book. And then for my goal for Bulgarian, where I either wanted to finish intensive Bulgarian or colloquial Bulgarian, I can tell you now that is not happening this summer. Even if I do get to Bulgarian before the 4-month update, I will only have been studying for like 2 weeks probably, which is not enough time to finish one of those textbooks. And I also was not positive that I would finish one of those textbooks anyway, just because Bulgarian is a very slow and tedious process for me. I will openly admit that I struggle very heavily with any grammatical concept in Bulgarian. So it's not like stuff that I could just kind of skip over and that sort of thing. I really do need to learn it, and the tedious part has to happen in order for me to eventually grasp it. And with many things, like the definite article, like conjugating verbs in the present tense, I eventually do get it, but it definitely takes me quite a while, and there is a lot of stuff that I have not reached that is going to be very crucial for me to learn in Bulgarian that I know will take me a while and I know will come up in those textbooks. So I don't honestly want the pressure of finishing either of those textbooks. My goal at this point is to start one of them. On a similar note, another thing that I am adjusting as the summer continues is that my new focus is no longer really going to be focusing on refreshing languages and kind of studying through textbooks. I feel like I solidly refreshed my German, I pretty solidly refreshed my Spanish, and I'm working on pretty solidly refreshing my Italian as well. And so once those are all refreshed and ready to be in this kind of immersion maintenance style learning, I'm only really focusing on refreshing and studying with a textbook Bulgarian. My focus really needs to be just habitually and consistently immersing myself in the other languages. I think this is also super important alongside a kind of more busy and more draining schedule where I am working. So reading books and watching movies, watching TV shows, listening to podcasts, etc., all of that needs to be my new focus. So that is what I'm hoping to focus on this coming month, and hopefully in the 4-month update that will be what I have the most updates about. Just to catch you up with where I am right now, I'd say I'm about a fourth of the way through the Spanish poetry book. I'd say I'm only still like a chapter 2 into Percy Jackson. I have not gotten a chance to read much over the last month. That is something that I really want to work on. Still have not started something in Italian, still have not started something in French. I want to finish this German book and this Spanish book first, honestly, at this point, just so I don't have too many projects going, but I want to finish those and then I will pull in something in Italian, something in French, and I really want to start watching stuff. I feel like just in general that feels like a really good thing for me to get in the habit of. I have been struggling recently with the new work schedule with finding ways to integrate language learning and integrate doing film work and that sort of thing into my life on days where I come home from work and I'm just so burnt out and exhausted. And I think that watching a movie that allows myself to practice a language and just expand my knowledge of cinema is a really great way to do this. It's productive in both those ways, but also a little bit more relaxing and not something that feels like work after a day full of work. So if anyone has any recommendations in any of the languages I study, and whether it's movies or TV shows or whatever, I would love to hear about them. I definitely think that is going to be a big focus, almost even more so than reading, but I definitely really want to read. I just, in general, so many people have been talking about Percy Jackson and just all of the, like, Rick Riordan books and stuff as a series and stuff recently, and I just really want to understand what people are talking about because I never read these books as a kid, and this is truly my first experience reading them. So I would really like to know what's going on, and I think I'm really glad at this point that I decided to read it in German because I'm so excited to read it that it gives me something that makes me excited about it beyond just improving my German and that sort of thing. Podcast-wise, I did listen to quite a few coffee break podcasts this month. One of the things that I've also been trying to balance in my life is exercising, and one of the things that I did this past month was I went skating for a few miles, and throughout those few miles I listened to coffee break podcasts pretty much the whole time. And I just kind of switched between German and Spanish, and eventually I will integrate some Italian ones. I actually haven't listened to any of the coffee break Italian podcasts yet, and in general I am just hoping to do more of that, even if it's like while I'm driving to work or while I'm driving to run any sort of errand or just anything like that, while cleaning my room or cooking or whatever. I think that's a really good way to use dead time, is to do language podcasts. So that is going to be another part of this coming month's focus, but I do think that I did pretty well on that this past month too. Let's talk about that challenge that I set myself, shall we? So I wanted to record videos in all of the languages of varying lengths, and I still love this idea, but I'm getting quite stressed about it as I hit the point in the summer where I said was going to be the time, solely because it has coincided with me going back to work and not having a ton of time to film videos. I still want to do it, but I think at this point what's going to happen is I can probably at the most record one a week. So I don't think they're all going to be done necessarily at the time summer ends like I'd originally hoped, but I'm still gonna do it. I still want to hold myself to it. I also think it will be a fun way to just see where I'm at in each of the languages, but at this point I have kind of come to terms with the fact that it's not going to be just a summer thing. It's going to be an into the fall thing of recording all these videos and editing them and that sort of thing. So I think you all can probably expect to see like maybe one of these a month for the coming months, probably. I will probably space it out a little bit like that. 5 or 6 videos is just a lot to film all in one go, especially when they're all like 20 minutes long, so it's definitely going to be spaced out, but I definitely still want it to happen. And as for how I'm feeling about the videos themselves, the emotion is probably like, I am very not confident in my speaking abilities still in pretty much every language, but at the same time it's not utter distress. I feel like I have done enough studying and enough practice this summer that I'm learning that no matter how much I feel like I cannot speak a language, chances are I probably can do it at least a little bit, even if badly. So I'm hoping I can boost my confidence in speaking in each of the languages before I film, but honestly, if this is just the place that I'm working up from, then so be it. My big goal for this summer was to study for 30 to 60 minutes a day and then have maintenance immersion time on top of that. And I feel like I was doing really well at this for the first half of the summer, and then that July slump hit and we got not so great at it again, and then I kind of picked it up again at the end of July, and now I am very much so struggling with this. I completely honestly, the past week and a half, I'd say, have been struggling to get any sort of language stuff done. I did study Italian last night and I was very happy about it. Definitely just with work, I have been coming home and feeling so tired that I definitely do not want to study. But I'm starting to find ways around this. I've discovered that taking about an hour or two break between work and whatever kind of productive thing I try to do really helps and really makes all of the difference. I've also figured out a good way for myself to track my habits and try to keep myself accountable. So I'm hoping that really over the next 2 weeks, I think, are going to be the crucial period. I will find a way to kind of solidify those habits within my life a little bit more and make it work so that I am studying every day. The first goal is really just to be studying every day, and then I will get to the 30 to 60 minutes plus maintenance thing. I definitely do still want to have that goal in the end, but I don't think I'm in that place right now, and I think that trying to push myself to would truly just burn myself out so fast. So current goal has been adapted slightly from that, and it is quite literally just studying every day. And I'll let you know how that one's going when I do the next update. And then my last goal was to stick with the Polyglot Progress upload schedule. I have uploaded one video alongside working and alongside studying and all of that. This is definitely something I want to make sure I continue to do alongside work. It gives me a great creative outlet. It helps hold me accountable for Polyglot Progress stuff. I really love the community, so I really feel like it is something that I need to find time for and be able to continue doing alongside my language learning. As always, I would love to know how your goals have been going this past month and what you've been up to. Am I the only one that felt like this past month didn't actually happen? Let me know about that as well. I will see you on Wednesday, and remember, practice makes progress.